Welcome to Authors Live. This week we are talking about thrillers. We have two wonderful indie authors with us, Russell Berry, who has written a traditional thriller, and then Cassie Alford, who has written a series of romantic thrillers, which might also fall in the dark romance side of things, but I really like to think of them as thrillers a lot. I like to remind our viewers too that we are here tonight because we love our indie authors. We want to support them and help get the word out about their books. And the best way to do that is to make sure that people are seeing the live. So the way the algorithm works is the more likes we have on the live, the more people TikTok will show it to. So we want you to just, smash that like constantly. We want to see tons and tons of likes on here. So that lots of people will get to learn about these great books and talk with our indie authors tonight. Gifts help also. None of us are going to say no to a gift. We make a little bit of money every time you give one, but likes and shares are free. So like the live and share with all your friends. That way we can help spread the word about these amazing books. All right, so I'm going to give you guys each a minute to introduce yourselves. Russell, since you're on top of my screen, I'm going to let you go first.
I was afraid you'd say that. Yeah. Hi, I'm Russell Berry. I'm an indie author here, living in beautiful Kamloops, British Columbia. I like writing thrillers that are really immersive, really page-turning, and really detail-oriented. So often when you read something that I've written, I like to you to be able to, smell the gunpowder in the air, feel the wind on your cheek, that sort of full immersion experience, because I think it heightens the tension if you can do that. My book, I'm shamelessly plugging, and AJ is being so nice to help me do so, is The Wickedest of Things. I want the light in there. So, it's a book about... I can't easily summarize the plot.
This is a common problem.
Yeah. Long story short, there's a tech company that likes to put its people through a maze of challenges every year called the Labyrinth. Think of it like a corporate team building event, a way to push the people beyond the limits. You go through rooms with challenges to get to the center. It's basically a race. But this year something goes wrong, and the people inside suddenly are fighting for survival, going from room to room, trying to beat the challenges and fighting against the clock to get there, with something sinister stalking them.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, Cassie, you're up.
Okay. Hello, I'm Cassie Alford. I have a dark romance series called The Persh Family Legacy. I'm over here in Michigan, so I'm writing Michigan books. And I like dark romance. My friends describe me as someone that always goes for the villain, so I definitely wrote characters red flags galore. So in the series, it's a 4-book series, 3 currently with the 4th coming on the way. And then each book focuses on a different member of the family. So the first book is Eve. That's where most people start. I really like, I think it's very common in dark romance books. You have like a very kind of possessive, dark, obsessive character in the men. I swapped it, so I kind of have a very, I don't know if I want to say psychotic, even though a lot of readers do, but a very dark, possessive female main character who's really just glommed onto her one true match. Then we've each book kind of just goes on with a different person of the family.
Mm-hmm. And it has to do with, there's like some organized crime elements and
yeah. I'm
really,
never sure
really thriller-like elements.
It's like some people like, oh, is it a spoiler? But some people like they ask me like, but is there like a little bit of? I'm like, yeah. But yes, organized crime for sure.
Mm.
Very nice. So, Russell, I know you already told us a little bit about the book. Tell us a little bit about your main character. I've read a few chapters of each of your books. I haven't gotten through, completely because I realized I struggle to read more than one book at a time. So I think that your main character, Russell, is really interesting, and he's got a unique ability, right?
Yeah. When I thought about this story, if I'm being honest with you, I wanted to have an everyman to have the audience experience the whole thing with him as the main character, but it just didn't feel right. I wanted someone who was immersive enough and interesting enough to go page to page. So Reed is my main character, and well, I guess I can give this away. He's someone who is very detail oriented, very loves puzzles and games, but importantly, he also has an absolutely photographic memory. So he can recall anything that happened from between 5 years ago and 2 seconds ago. It's just who he is. So I wanted to explore that dynamic a little bit and just see how it affects him, because if you have that sort of ability, then most people think it would be great. Most people would enjoy the sort of ability and edge it gives you in life. For him, the problem is if you live through that with that ability, if you have that ability and you live through trauma, then the ability to separate yourself from your past and from the sinister part of your memory, that becomes harder. So that's a driving force for him throughout the book, is helping him try to find some peace.
That's interesting. I never thought about that with a photographic memory.
Yeah.
How trauma would impact that.
Well, I think
Go ahead, Russell.
Well, I think it's something that we all wanted to, just because, well, I'm at the point where I don't remember where I put my keys every day. But the idea that you can recall everything and have perfect recognition is great, but the idea that some people really try to put some things out of their mind, and if you were physically incapable of doing that, then how do you cope from day to day?
Right. There are some things you would much rather forget, I'm sure.
Mm.
And in fact, for most of us, our brains forget as a coping mechanism. Like there are some things we forget because they're not healthy to remember. It'd be very difficult to be unable to do that. It's all right.
Yeah.
Cassie, tell us a little bit about Eve as a character.
So Eve, even though she is the title character, so this book is actually narrated through her partner, which is David. And to kind of set them apart, I made David as literally like the most like most average man. Like he just lives a normal life. He just has a average job. There's not really anything interesting about him by himself, and that's kind of why I like him with this family. So part of, I guess, the entertainment of this is obviously he's thrown into this very dark world of organized crime. He's with Eve, she's very possessive and obsessive. So Eve's thing is she's got it in her head that she needs a man. She needs a relationship. She needs people to like her. She's kind of validated by other people, and her thing, the next thing she needs in her perfect little life is her perfect relationship. So that's kind of what she finds in David, or what she thinks she finds at least. So I think part of the, I guess, entertainment with this is like you have someone that's completely normal, like David, being swept up into this dark criminal world with someone he just had no idea what was going on with.
Mm-hmm. And she just kind of gloms onto him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very instant. She kind of has her idea of like what a perfect relationship is. So like ideally, he should be obsessed with her. He should want to spend all his time with her, and then also get to know her family.
Mm-hmm. And it's her family that's the crime organization, right?
It is her family. So that is also kind of something you go throughout the series, is David getting to know the family, getting to know how this family works, all the things they do, and then trying to learn whether is he going to adjust it, is he going to fight it, what's he going to do with that.
Mm-hmm. So is David in all the books?
Yes, so David is the main protagonist throughout the series, but it's David. The first book is mostly narrated by David, and then you'll have these smaller chapters of Eve. So sometimes it'll kind of like mirror a chapter of like what Eve thought about whatever just happened. And then the second book is Wuhan. That's actually Eve's older brother, who surprisingly turned out to be kind of like the unexpected star of the series. So you meet him in the first book, and then the second book kind of focuses more on him and his new relationship. David still narrates it, but then it's more like David and Wuhan narrating together.
Okay. And then who's the third book about?
The third book, it's actually a prequel. It's called Randall. So if you were to read the books, you would meet the two parents, Randall and Lilling. So I would like to describe it as like a college dark romance. Takes place in 1994. So it's kind of the start of that family. So two morally gray people meeting, making big decisions on how they're going to get to that life they want. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of describe it as like a standalone prequel where like you could read it, but if you choose not to read the prequel, like you're not gonna miss super key components. But if you do, it just kind of adds additional like context and understanding if you like that all relationship building kind of thing.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So Russell, is this your first book? Do you have other books out?
This is my first full-length novel, yeah. This took a while to do. I've got, oh my God, it's Russell Berry. Thank
Love
you.
that.
Thank you, Bill. Uh, I've put a bunch of different short stories and little novella fiction on Amazon before, but this was my first full-length novel. I'm glad to have it done. I've got this, and later on this year, I've got a new novel coming out called The White Noise of Ashes. So I guess
Oh,
I'm a thriller
perfect.
guy.
What's that one going to be about?
That one's a little more straightforward to explain.
Okay.
So, murder in a small town. Murder in a small town, the dynamic there, but there's the the characters sort of discover this sort of signal out, and like a white noise of static burst. Then, after a few hours, all of a sudden, there's just one sentence saying, "There's a body over here. Go find it." Just a little bit of intrigue, and
Mm-hmm.
something else is happening in this small town. I kind of like the dynamic of a play of books where the setting can be a character, for lack of a better term. Just
Mm-hmm.
the whole dynamic of small towns and people where things where everyone knows each other. So I'm having some fun with that one.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Are you still writing it right now?
Pretty finishing touches on my the main draft, so I'd still have to beta read it.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a little work left.
Hmm.
The editing is never my favorite part.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of it's easy, some of it's just like mind-destroyingly hard. So that's
Right?
okay.
Yeah, trying to make it into a thing where other people will see it the same way you meant them to.
Yeah,
That's the hard part.
absolutely.
Okay, well, this is arguably the hardest question every time. Um, but you've had some warning, so hopefully you've had a little bit of time to think about it ahead of time. What are some comparable titles out there where, you could say if you like this book, then you're going to want to read mine?
Okay, well, here's the interesting thing. I've had lots of people with feedback saying they got different Maze Runner vibes from reading the book. And that's great if they do. It's a popular book. I haven't read Maze Runner, so I hope
It's
they're
really
right.
good.
I'll have to get around to it now.
I haven't gotten far enough to know, but based on your description that you gave, I could kind of see that. The
Okay.
unknown something chasing them through this labyrinth of rooms.
Mm. There's that, and I would just sort of the sort of theatrical epic fiction, I would say, like Terminator to some extent. But
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Okay.
Again, I like uh, just that force chasing you, almost like a monster movie type thing.
Right. Yeah. Cassie, how about you?
I think I would say the book You, or if you've only watched the show, there's also a show on Netflix, but You.
Right.
And I think it's interesting that Eve, I feel like she could both be Love Quinn, but she could also be Joe or whatever you want his name,
Uh-huh.
depending on where you're at. But because she is very, I mean, she is very like she's found this one person she's obsessed with, and she's also willing and expects she'll do anything for that relationship. She doesn't want people to get in the way. She does see other people as threats to that relationship. So I would say if you like You, I know like kind of like stalker romances is like a sub trope. If that's your thing, that's also
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna like these.
I think that You is exactly what I thought of just reading the description of the book before I even started it itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, to me, is the epitome of a romantic thriller. I like
Yeah,
those kinds
so
of things a lot.
I wrote this thinking just like dark romance in general, but then it wasn't until after I started getting reviews in, a lot of people were saying they would say yes, suspense or thriller, and then they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I was so stressed out while I was reading this," and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I wrote something that crazy until other people started reviewing. I'm like, "Oh, maybe I just went a little off the rails there. Oops."
That's too funny.
Not off the rails, just the right way.
Yeah.
You can do, but if you can do
Right?
both things at once, then hey, that's an accomplishment.
Those are the books that keep me reading, right? Like I
Yes.
need there to be like something stressful where I've got to get to the resolution. I find those most fascinating. You can tell I'm a thriller girl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So where did you guys get the ideas for your stories?
Oh God, I sitting on a tractor in the Australian outback for 8 hours in the day.
I think I need to know more about that.
Yeah, you might. My wife got posted to Australia a few years ago, and she was going to be gone for 6 months. So you know what? I'll go with her. I don't want her to go alone. I, I, the only job they gave me was when I was there was just mulching fields on a tractor. So I'm just doing lanes back and forth, and what didn't feel very intellectual. So the whole time I'm just thinking about, well, telling a story, what I could write, that sort of thing,
Hmm.
and ironically, I set out to tell a really simple story.
And
Okay,
it
what
ended
can
up
I do
very
for
complex.
yeah, what can I do for a very basic, like almost a monster movies type scenario where you've got
Hmm.
some sort of beast chasing people through a thriller atmosphere? I like thrillers. That sounds great. Okay, but all right. Well, what if I did it in like some sort of escape room type setting? That'd be interesting. Oh, great. Well, okay. Well, how do you get to the point where there's a maze full of escape? Okay, and I have to come up with the scenario for that. Okay, what's chasing them? Um, well, you could do some sort of like beast or monster. No, that doesn't make sense. What about okay, robot killing machine? I can do that. Let's put that together and let's make it plausible. It sort of spiraled out from there, and
Hmm.
I wanted to write it this sort of really immersive thriller, and it took a while to come together, but it came out, and I'm proud of what I have. It's the sort of sorry, nah, go on.
So really, you had a lot of thinking time.
Yes, a lot of thinking time.
Cassie, how about you? How did you come up with the idea for these books?
So I just kind of wrote the book that I wanted to see more of. So I read a lot of dark romance. I do like thrillers, but I think something that I kind of got sick of is that narrative of like the woman, she's always the one being chased. She's always the one just kind of like out there like struggling to survive in this new relationship. So I kind of just wanted to flip it.
Hmm.
So the focus is really on like Eve as like that morally gray, like bad guy, a little bit more antagonistic even in the relationship. And then it's more of just the male main character, David, who's just kind of like struggling to keep up and adjust.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I've also had people say like I write girl bosses. So that's kind of if you like girl bosses, that too. And I when I wrote it, I really thought it was just going to be like a one and done book series or just the one book. And then like as soon
Hmm.
as I finished it, I was like, but what about that brother? Like what? Because he is a very dark character. He's very I guess cut off from the world. He disassociates. He doesn't really connect with people, and which
Hmm.
weirdly again I did not think he would be kind of like the favorite character of everybody. And then so I was kind of like, well, what would a relationship look like for him? So that's kind of how the series keeps going. Is okay, so like what would Wuhan's relationship look like? And then the prequel is like,
Hmm.
well, how do two people raise kids that turn out like that? So like how does that happen? So that's how the prequel goes.
That's awesome. I love that. Um, well, let's talk a little bit just kind of about reading in general. Because normally those of us who like to write also like to read, right? Um, so what is your favorite book or author within your own genre?
Ooh, I you sent me that question earlier, spoilers, and I'm still trying to figure out the best way to answer it. I there's a bunch of different people who have different skills, and you like different authors for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick one, like a general name to name right off the top, it would probably be Michael Crichton. Just because with Michael Crichton, again, he thriller books altogether, and some of them have a sci-fi bent, some of them are based in are historical, some are romance, stories with sexual harassment. It's just the versatility of being able to do that and
Mm-hmm.
approach different genres, approach different scenarios that are wildly different, but still making them completely accessible for the reader. Uh, one of my favorite books I read is one that not many people have, is The Great Train Robbery. It's just this short novel that he wrote, and the characters in it and the scenarios are just, it brings you in immediately, it holds on to you till the end, and it does it with keeping everything interesting and with sort of a flinty humor. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read that one before. It sounds like it's really good.
Mhm. That's
What's it
one of
about?
his first, the shorter one. So he wanted to write about a train robbery in 19th England. So it's got a very smoky Victorian atmosphere. The main character is very mysterious, almost has a kind of an English gentleman, almost a James Bondy vibe. You read
Mm-hmm.
the whole novel comes from the perspective of his accomplices in the crime, and he just will appear in a scene, suddenly make an impression, and just whisk his way out of the room. It's very well done. It's one of those novels where your main character is the main character. You were never reading it from his perspective, which is, I find, really unique.
That is very interesting. Sounds really well done too.
Yeah. So that's some of the basic ones that everyone likes. It's a guilty pleasure, but I like Clive Cussler. The, well, just for depth of vision, Max Brooks can't be beat.
Okay. I don't think I've ever read a Max Brooks book. I'll have to look at some.
World War Z, if you get the chance, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it, but haven't read it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very hard question. Because I actually just got back into reading within the last year. Like I used to read a ton, and then basically like what happened is college. I'm like, okay, I don't have time to read anymore. So I just got back into it last year, and then I think since then I've really just been Book Talk choose my next read for me, and they sent me on like a lot of crazy choose your next book. Especially when I was like, this book was absolutely nuts. I don't know. And then someone will be like, this one's even crazier. But so I was trying to think of like, what's the last book that like kept me in a chokehold? And it's such a basic answer. It's not dark romance. It's more romantasy. Most basic answer ever. But like the Court of Thorns and Roses series, that's the last thing where it's like one book after the other, where I'm like, for that period, all I did was read those books. And I got it from Book Talk. I think somebody just like posted like, it was like fan art or something, and I was like, let me see who these men are. Let's check this one out. And that's what got me. And then I think it's like a when I'm like describing like a 4 or 5 star read, like 4 is I like it, but like 5 is like, this is, I'm gonna like make every person I know like read this series. And that was that one for me, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make my sister read it. I'm gonna make I think that's the last book.
Very nice. Do you guys have like a favorite book of all time? Like one book you think everybody should read?
Way too
That
hard.
is borderline impossible. That's like saying I can't, just because like I like so many diverse different things. So I mean, there'll be very different. One book to the other will be very different beasts. I don't know if I can pick something that will appeal to everyone, or will. No, just whatever you can. Try different genres, try different authors. Just try to take as much in as possible because reading is amazing and can never be
Hmm.
beat.
That's fair. Cassie, I feel like you were having a similar reaction.
Yeah, I don't think I could possibly pick like one book for everybody, and I think that's kind of the beauty of I guess just reading because a lot of people like will reach out to me and ask like how they either like market their book or like even like what they should write. And the thing is, I feel like there's every book has its market. There's readers for every
Yep.
genre that you could possibly think of.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think there's like one specific book I could say like that's for everybody because I think that's
Hmm.
a good thing to tell yourself as an author is that it's inevitable. Like at some point, you're gonna get like a bad review. At some point, you're gonna go on Goodreads and you're gonna see like that classic comment of like this is 11th grade Wattpad writing. Like it's gonna happen at some point. Um,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah, not everybody likes
will
every
happen to
book,
everybody,
right?
but it also makes me feel better. Like I can choose like what I think is like the best book out there, so I can go to like a Court of Thorns and Roses, and you'll see 1 stars reviews on even the best books. You'll see that on
Hmm.
Harry Potter. You would find that on the Bible, like anything. Like there's gonna be a 1 star review out there. So yeah, I think people's tastes vary widely.
That's true. That's true.
I feel so much better now that you said that we will all have reviews where one person does. Oh, every time I come across something like that, it just, oh, it stings a little, but no, I understand.
I
Right?
stopped
It
checking.
hurts.
Yeah,
It hurts a
it's
little
not
bit.
personal. Mm.
It's like if you had a newborn and somebody told you your baby was ugly. Doesn't feel good. But
Mm.
not every book is
Even
for
if it
every
looks like a
person.
cashew with hair, always say that someone's baby looks beautiful.
That's right.
Doesn't matter.
There's no such thing as an ugly baby, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, what is your favorite book or author outside your genre?
Oh,
Or maybe even something far removed from what you normally would read, but you really loved it.
hmm I would go. I have to. I have to lean into science fiction on this one. It's outside what I normally read, like space opera, things like that. But I there's a series that Timothy Zahn does. He's the guy who wrote Heir to the Empire and the first batch of Star Wars novels years and years ago. He
Mm-hmm.
wrote a series called The Conqueror's Saga, and again, great characters, great dialogue. It's really immersive. But what he did with that was he wrote the first. It's 3 books. So he wrote the first book from the perspective of humanity, wrote the second book from the perspective of the aliens they encounter, and the third book is from both points of view. And you begin to realize that this conflict between them just understand it, and you begin to root for both sides as you try to work your way through it. It's really immersive and has that sort of again depth of vision that I really like. So you get
Yeah, it sounds kind of
it's
fascinating.
it's a lot of fun. It's really well written.
I like that you get to see it from both sides
Mhm.
because honestly, rarely in life is anything that black and white as we try to make it, right?
Yeah. One thing I always look for in books and in my own writing, actually, there's everyone has a story. Everyone has a backstory and a context for why something's happening. So what I always dislike is when a character shows up and they're purely there for as an antagonist, or they're purely there as just to build up the main character. They have no backstory of their own. So depth of character is something I really like in the books I read.
Mm-hmm. Where every character matters.
Absolutely.
Cassie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm trying not to reuse my first answer, and I think outside again, I do read a lot of fantasy, and I'm trying to think of like another series and it's been a long time since I've read it, and the problem is I don't remember the author, I just remember the series, but the Immortal Instrument series, which has been
Mm-hmm.
out
Oh,
a,
damn.
a while. It's had several adaptions of it, but I think that was another series that really, I guess, started me off. That I read like with fantasy because I think with fantasy. I'm very selective. I like to describe it like lovingly as like non-imaginative fantasy, where like I like to know what everything looks like. I don't want to do too much of like what is this creature. So I think that's the kind of fantasy I'm comfortable with, where like most of the people look like people, except they could be a vampire or like something like that. So I love that series. That's a great one.
Good, good. I feel like we have just rolled through these questions way faster than usual tonight, you guys. Which just tells me you knew what you wanted to say, right? um, why don't you, let's see, for anybody who has just come in new, because people pop in and out a lot of these things, this is not letting me see all the people who are on here like it should. Tell us why you think we should read your book. What's special about it? What's going to draw us in?
Okay. For my book, I think I would advocate for everyone watching to read it, not just because I really want you to, please, but because have you ever read a book where you actively feel for the antagonist? Where you actively not root for them because you don't want them to succeed. You care for the characters, but you can completely empathize with their situation. You feel as much for the person doing the killing as you do for those who are being stalked. Sort of villain that isn't malevolent and you want to see succeed. A complex character like that, if you are into something that would change your perspective on what a villain is, I would have you read my book.
That's really got me thinking. Like, I'm not sure if I can think of a book where I was rooting for the antagonist. I can think of TV shows where bad guys become likable somehow.
Okay.
I'm having trouble thinking of books. I've been watching Resident Alien on Netflix.
I keep meaning to watch that and I haven't. Damn it.
Well, it's really good. It's really funny. But the alien, like, right off the bat in the first episode, is not like a good guy, but you like him. And you don't want bad things to happen to him. So it just makes me wonder, like, is it something like that sort of in your book?
A little bit of that dynamic, yeah.
Yeah. Cassie, how about you? What do you think is going to draw us in about your books?
I think, funnily enough, about like the bad characters is something that I kind of describe these books as these are books for people that normally root for the bad guys. So these are the people, like if you're reading Harry Potter, you're not looking at Harry, you're looking at Draco. So those are my people, the dark romance girlies, okay? Because these books, I mean, it's a crime family. They're not good people. They do. If you like that dark romance, if you like crime and suspense, but you want the people that are causing the crime and suspense. That's what I have. And then again, it's a lot. It's I think I'd like to say it's like more like female driven romance. So you've got Eve is the one that's really leading. She's both the antagonist and the protagonist at the same time. And then another thing people tell me a lot that they like is that you can really see how these relationships change from like Eve and David in book 1 is not the same as Eve and David in book 2. Wuhan's character, which I see somebody in the comments saying that's their person. So like Wuhan in book 1 is very different from Wuhan in book 2. And I somebody also said they described my book as it's a character study, which I think is a compliment. The review was pretty good, but a character study, so very complex characters.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of like growth and character development happening throughout the series too, which is really great. And as you were talking about that, I love that you guys have that in common, that like you're gonna like the bad guy in this book, you know. But Cassie, as you were describing yours, I was remembering how you had compared it to the book You or the TV show. And it's very similar in that way too, because spoiler alert, Joe is a serial, you know what, he does some very bad things to some people, and yet you him to get away with it somehow. So yeah, I love that your books have that in common with each other. So guys, if you like the baddies, these are the books for you, I think.
Yeah, so it's like for
Absolutely.
people that like see like they or not even they see like Joe and Quinn and they're like they're both crazy together. It's like them against the world. If you like that kind of narrative, that's what I've got.
I think I more looked at that like they deserved each other than
People,
them against the world. But
Oh,
bad people get bad people.
right. But I also see that as there's nobody is all bad, right? There's good in everybody and there's bad in everybody, and we all make poor choices sometimes. And uh, again, there's not a lot in life that's truly black and white, and so it makes sense that our characters wouldn't be completely black and white either.
you're here.
All right. Well, guys, our audience, I want to remind you that you can type in questions in the chat. We're happy to answer your questions. Cassie and Russell, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves just as people in general? What kinds of things do you like to do, in real life outside of TikTok?
Oh. Well, when I'm not on camera and forced to be witty, I I'm so I'll go snowshoeing around and basically explore being out in the hills around here. It's just the most beautiful country. So I'll doing that and I'll be running around after my kids. So I've got two little boys that and I haven't slept in years. But
I remember that
I
feeling.
love them just the same.
I'm sure it's gorgeous up there. I've never been, but I've always wanted to.
It really is something special. I grew up in a place where it was just absolutely flat as a pancake. You could just watch your dog run away for weeks if you stood someplace high enough. And being up here in the mountains, it's just I like waking up and seeing that.
Yeah. Does it stay cold for a lot of the year?
Yep. Uh, it's ice. It's pretty icy up here, but that's okay.
Seems like the cold doesn't bother you too much.
I'm Canadian. No big deal.
Cassie, what kinds of things do you like to do?
So I'm over here in Michigan, and I write all my books. They're all Michigan places because to me it feels easier to just like oh yeah, that's Saginaw. So I just get really excited. I spend a lot of my time on Book Talk, but I also ship books out myself. So whenever I'm doing one and I'm shipping it to somewhere else in Michigan, I get really excited. Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna like recognize the places. Um, I play video games. I'm pretty nerdy, so I play a lot of video games. I have two dogs. I walk them constantly, and then I'm a foster mom, so it's like sometimes I have kids, sometimes
Oh
I'm just
wow.
like living my own adult life. So it's all over the
Yeah,
place.
sometimes you're a mom and sometimes you're more independent.
Yeah, there's usually not you get like 3 hours notice when you're gonna have a kid, so it's like I might start this day as just being my own person, and then by the end of the day, there's gonna be a baby in here. So
Yeah. Do you do
um,
long-term placements or
Wow.
more like just emergencies or
I do long term, but so far they're like they're short long term if that makes sense. Like it might be like 6 is the longest I've had anybody, and then I've done as short as 2 weeks. But it's usually they're never planned, so it's almost always like last minute where they're like, "Hey, can we come bring this baby?"
yeah. I love that you do that. That's so, so important.
That's amazing.
But foster care is really hard too because like you said, like they're in and then they're out after
Yeah,
a couple of months.
yeah,
It's
it's
got to be
hard. So
hard.
I'm in love with this baby after like 2 hours. So you definitely do get connected, but I mean, it's literally what I sign up for, though. You know that when you
Right,
need that
right. It
thing.
helps that you understand that.
Yeah.
It'd be hard for people who didn't realize that it's not going to be forever.
Yeah, I run into that a lot where they'll like leave and they're like, "Why didn't you keep the baby?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. It's always good if the parents can, clean things up and be able to have their kids back, but still makes it hard for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so Russell, you already told us about the next book you're writing,
Yeah.
right? When does that come out again?
Well, I want to make sure
Or
it's
you've got a
done
goal for
properly.
it
I still
anyway,
gotta
not a specific date.
finish up a couple of beta reads. I'm hoping to get it out by December. So
Awesome.
take my
Make
time,
a
make sure
good
it's done
Christmas
right.
present.
Yes.
And Cassie, you're working on the fourth book in the series, right?
Okay, so in order, it's like Eve Wuhan, and then what is coming next, which I'm just calling Persh Legacy. That one focuses more on the family as a whole. It's still narrated by mostly David and Wuhan, but then you also have Eve chapters. I'm planning for the summer. I don't have like a strict month in mind. My life was really crazy in January, so it kind of threw off all my plans. So I'm working on editing now. It's written. I have a couple of my friend and her mom are like reading it right now, and they're just gonna give me feedback, and then I'll go back into the editing phase.
Hmm.
But I've already done the fun stuff. Like I've designed the book covers. That's always my favorite thing. So I'm just doing all the.
Hmm. Nice. Okay, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that when you announce the date.
Hmm. Yeah, it's getting close. I just need to do the finishing touches, and then like formatting always takes me longer than I think. 'Cause like I put in the chapter headers because I need the book to be pretty. So like it's gonna have pretty little chapter headers, and then something I've been working on over the past couple weeks is I'm calling it like a little refresh. So like I redid like even now like the trigger pages are gonna be pretty in the books, and the
Hmm.
people are always asking me the order, so I just put that in the book too. I made new title pages for when you open it. So I'm working on that. I recently put out hardcovers for the books, so what kind of books they like. So I also made
Hmm.
like a alternative set of covers, which I've got one right there. I've got the hardcovers. Um, just doing things like that.
Very nice. So, are either of you lucky enough to get to write full time, or do you both have day jobs?
When I started this, I was writing full time, and then a day job came my way. So, it's weird that it's a good paying job. I work during the day and I'm getting by, and I don't have to scrape together money at the end of the month, which is good. But at the same time,
Hmm.
I, I really wish I could spend my mornings writing all the time. Like I did. Sort
Right.
of,
Yeah.
I don't. Some people who are watching probably are creatives as well, but just when you get a chance to sit down every day and be able to express yourself that way artistically, it's there's nothing like it. It's
It's
the
really
most.
sort of freeing.
It really is. It's the most satisfying job you could get, which
Hmm.
I guess is why we're all here in the end. Is we're hoping to make this our full time job.
Right.
Yeah.
Be nice to make it your full time gig.
Mhm.
Cassie, how about you?
Yep. I have a regular day job, so like all this authoring is happening in the evenings and on weekends. Yeah. So just waiting waiting to make it big, just like everybody else, I guess. I think it's like
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
like marketing is like the hardest part of it is
Oh,
just trying to get
Right.
people to care. Um, but I think overall, I've seen my reviews. My reviews are good, and I think that's what kind of is like. I think it'd almost be easier to quit if it's like I put it out there and then it was just like nothing but like terrible reviews, and people like, you know what, you actually suck at this. But the reviews are good, and
Hmm.
I think that makes it easier to keep going because it's like I've got something here. I just need to get it out there.
Hmm. It's exhausting sometimes, though, like having the 40 hours a week and then trying to find the time to do
uh,
all the other things, the social media and all the other marketing and publicity. It's a lot.
Yeah. I
yeah.
just started getting into what I did in February, my very first like author book signing. So that's one of my goals for this year is to do more of those like in-person events. So I did one in February, and then I've got another one in April where it's going to be like a bigger book festival. It's supposed to have like 40 authors there. So I'm pretty excited. And
Oh,
this month will
great.
be like
All
getting
right.
prepped, like ordering books. Like it takes a long time to get these books here. Um, so I'm trying to do more of that
Yeah.
this month.
So where's that going to be, Cassie, in case any of us want to go visit you?
Man, good question. It is it's called Creative Slingers of Ink. I believe this is only the second one they've done. And I'll have to look up the exact place, but it is in Michigan. But I know Creative Slingers of
Okay.
Ink is the hosts of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just keep an eye on your TikTok to find out
Yeah,
more.
I'll be on there.
Yeah.
Russell, do you get to do any in-person events like that?
Ah, I got a bunch of different indie bookstores here. I've done a couple of in-person events, and they're always fun to do, to be able to interact with people that way. In terms of a big signing, I'm hoping to do one in Vancouver. So just
Awesome.
to be down in one of the big ones on the square.
I
to
bet
do
that's
that.
really exciting to do signings.
Oh,
I'm not there yet, so I'll be like peeing my pants with glee
Why
when
did
it
you say
happens.
that? You can host an online talk show, but you can't do a book signing? I know you can.
No, I'll be like thrilled to death. I'll be
Ah.
so excited.
Okay, better. There you go.
So excited. Yeah. All right, you guys. Maybe one or two last questions. We don't have a ton of time left. We try to stick to about an hour. Where can we buy your books?
The place to find them is on Amazon. Mine is also going to be available in Barnes and Noble fairly quickly. So that'll be good. But for the moment, again, if you're a Kindle Unlimited reader, you can catch it there, or you can buy a paperback or a hardcover on Amazon. So please do pick them up. Every time someone reads a book, it makes me feel that much better. It helps. Thank you.
So my books are also on Amazon and they are on Kindle Unlimited. I also sell the books directly, so you can either go on my page and they're on my TikTok shop. There's also a website and an Etsy linked there. So if you do through either the TikTok shop, basically anything but Amazon, if you do any of those methods, you can get signed and I send them out with like stickers and bookmarks. If you go on my page, I have got like a lot of packing videos. So, which is, I think that is I actually sell books myself. I outsell myself on Amazon, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I set goals for myself. I'm trying to do basically a book a day, but with a little bit of wiggle room. I'm like, I'm going to sell 360 books this year. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm at 189 right now.
Wow. Awesome. More than halfway there already.
I know, because I think by the end of this month, I will have done more than I did last year. So I started marketing my books March of last year. So I'm just about at a year.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok is where I get all my book sales from.
TikTok is brilliant. Thank God we found this. Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, what if I got like banned on TikTok for something? Like, I'd just be out. But
Although I got to tell you, if the algorithm keeps getting harder and harder and harder on us, I might give up.
Oh yeah. Well, I have 20,000 followers on Twitter, and I think only 2 of them have ever bought a book. So
Okay.
Ultimately, TikTok is the place to be.
Twitter is not the place to sell books. Noted.
No. I'm learning that now.
I would definitely say TikTok. And then I found that like posting my videos later, like pro tip, like they do so much better. And when I started doing that, I like saw like a lot more like interaction, definitely. So don't post early.
Yeah.
Post at night.
Right. Yeah, I've discovered that as well. Well, do you guys have anything else that you want our viewers to know about you or about your books?
Over to you, dear lady. I've talked enough. You take the lead on this one.
These are maybe just seeming like a no, and that's okay.
Dark romance girlies, that's who I'm here for.
People who love like a really immersive, detailed read. If you like puzzles, if you like games, if you like getting your heart beating faster, please read my work.
Perfect. Well, you guys, this has been a great night. I always do a little bit of a shameless plug here at the end myself. And I say so many times when I talk. Anyway, this is me trying not to say again. So we've had Russell Berry, author of The Wickedest of Things, a traditional thriller, and Cassie Alford, author of The Persh Family. I have to say very slowly to get all the words correct. 3 out of 4 books are out. We've got Eve, Wuhan, and Randall. Is that the third one? Perfect, with a 4th coming hopefully this summer. Russell's aiming for a new book out in December of this year. So buy some books. I believe, I've got both of you on KU, so you guys are getting page reads from me as we speak. So if you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can find their books there also. On top of that, I myself have a couple of bookstores. They are linked in my link tree. I would love if you guys would go and buy books from my Authors Live lists. On every book from an Authors Live author that I have had on so far this year is on those lists. There's a bookshop.org. There's also an Amazon shop. But what's really important is our authors still get their royalties from those sales. And I do earn a small commission, just full disclosure, but that money goes to helping support this Authors Live project so that we can give some free publicity to our indie authors. So shopping at my bookshop supports indie authors in multiple ways. So I would love it if you guys would give it a look. Any last words, you guys?
Just thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. It's been great to talk with you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Again.
Bye, everybody. Buy their books, okay?